Okay, so here's a question asking us about the graph of an inequality. So I'll talk you through it to find out how to solve this almost instantly, but also how to use a graphing calculator to answer this if you're feeling stuck. So what's the inequality? Well, it says y is less than or equal to 2x, and they want to know which quadrant will be entirely shaded in by this graph. So how do we do this? Well, visually and quickly, I could set up an axis, right? I would probably even just think about this because this is a question that really I think can hone in on our intuition. So if I set this up, right, the first thing I'm going to think about is how would I graph something like y equals 2x? What would that mean? Well, if I plug in 0, when x equals 0, y is equal to 2 times 0, or 0. So that means that our y-intercept is at the origin. And then I know that if I plug in x equals 1, y will be 2. On the reverse, if I plug in negative 1, what will y be? Well, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. So I get a point down here. This just reminds me that if I had y equals 2, I get a line through the origin, right? And my points are a little off because of my sketch, with a slope of 2. So what are they graphing here? Well, they're graphing y is less than or equal to 2x. So it could be a point on this line, but y could also be anything less than, right, 2x. So this line represents 2x. Y could be anything beneath it, right? And this does shade in all of the quadrants a little bit, right? It touches on quadrant 1 over here. Quadrant 2 is not touched at all. Quadrant 3 is shaded in a bit, but quadrant 4 will eventually be entirely shaded in, right? So here the answer is quadrant 4, and you can see it there just by looking at it and thinking about what this means. But what if you're stuck? What if you're feeling like this is not making sense? How do we deal with this on a graphing calculator? Well, the first thing I would do is I would go to my equation editor here, and I enter in 2x. But since I'm graphing an inequality, I'm going to scroll over to the left here, and I'm going to toggle through different types of plots by pressing enter. Now, there's a whole bunch of options here, but you can see this, right? That's a greater than, and then the shaded triangle below is less than. So we have a less than or equal to here. We'll pick that. All right, we go over here, hit enter, and now it's ready. My zoom, I'll hit zoom standard, 6, enter. And there you can see the shaded in region, and you can even see how the fourth quadrant is covered completely. So the only thing that's probably really hard for you to see there was that when you're toggling through, right, if you see like a triangle like this, that means the graphing calculator will shade below the line, so y is less than. But if you see the top shaded region, something like that, right, that means it's going to be greater than. Now the calculator can't tell you if the line is solid or dashed. Just remember that this line itself will be dotted or dashed if the inequality is just less than or greater than, but it will be solid if it's less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So again, just take a look at that. You can see that lowered shaded blob there. That means less than, and that's what we looked at here. All right, hope this helped.